Yep. Okay.
Yes, yes. Oh.
I'm gonna leave this one for Dave. It
Okay.
shows.
Well, Dave coming, Lori?
What?
Dave Daniels coming?
Yeah. We're just not doing them.
Yeah, nothing afterwards. What that word
Are you
is?
okay now with that, Tom?
Yes, I'm good.
Okay.
I think he answered me. You know you're not gonna get an easy break, you know?
Jeez Louise.
Out here, you know?
Just remember that. Yes, for your life.
We're good.
Hmm? Oh, yeah? Well, my hair was in a ponytail for golf, so it never comes out. It never looks the same after it goes into a ponytail.
Was it a purple when you found it?
No, it was not.
Not sure.
Like your animals out.
You're right.
Are you playing in the league or just playing?
No, just we have two friends. Does it send out an alert if you subscribe? It does, right?
You like a
Okay.
stat.
At 6:45, so it'll tell you when we're gonna do live.
You know, it says we're live, it says we're going live at 7 o'clock.
No.
Okay.
No.
No.
You shut the horn whistle off, Lord.
Went below 50 for the first time last week in a long time.
Oh, wow, what's the?
36 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll never see that.
Hey, Dave.
I don't take it seriously.
Hi, Dave.
Hey.
No, I didn't know. I missed it.
Jerry,
No,
it's
you're-
like nice and
Good.
nice.
I can sit here if you want, but.
Have a room?
Is that what's going on? We're missing a table.
Oh, yeah.
Cool, good, see you.
Good.
Good, good, how are you? Good.
Jeffrey and I.
Gary,
wanna sit here or
We're
move up?
missing the table.
You good? Yeah. I get to watch Dan, look over his shoulder.
That usually goes too long.
You need it.
This is usually up
Yeah,
here.
no,
No, I don't. They
I
short
tried to
you.
give you enough room
The
there.
tables are different right now.
Yes.
Been readjusted.
Because Dan does
Not-
See,
I don't
there's a
approve,
table
I don't approve.
You didn't get the memo on this? You didn't get the memo?
I didn't get the memo, no. I don't approve either.
You have to have done by December to close.
And so I think Tom Myers is gonna.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I saw that,
So
yeah.
it's basically, yeah, this is our checklist.
A
and-
different Tom Myers.
And that's
Oh,
it.
it's
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Tom Myers.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
That's on
mine.
That's
That's my error.
What are you
This is
talking
what
about?
I said, Tom Myers, what are you
John
doing?
does not approve of the way the tables look right
So, shall we shuffle the tables?
now. I just thought I'd let you know.
If we voted this morning without a quorum also on the table
Oh,
situation.
You didn't tell me about it.
All right.
Didn't tell me.
We did go over this morning. At least with those two, I got it approved.
Yeah, Neil Lori said yes, Dan left.
Oh, That's right. That's right. It was only two, it was these two that said yes.
Would have been a thumbs down. Thumbs down.
You have a party crowd over next door right now. for a few.
Yeah, I went to high school with, one of them.
Hicks.
I did, yeah,
Yeah.
Gary was in my
I've
class.
talked to him,
Yeah.
I've talked to him.
Yeah, I hope they're happy.
I've been in,
And
they're happy.
Debbie married one of my classmates, and, yeah, I didn't know they were, I saw the name.
I think pretty much anybody's invited to
Yeah.
continue after the
It's
It's been
meeting.
going on all day.
I saw them. I was
Yes,
like,
they were
wow.
moving with the sun, the
Yeah.
chairs were moving with the sun.
Yeah.
They're from
We had
all
to
over the
close our
country.
windows.
Oh,
Yeah.
There's
They were
California
having a
good
continue.
They got some coolers out there, or they?
Yes, they do.
I think they just go around the
Doesn't
corner and
seem
get it
like
cold.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like. They don't seem that loud. They're not.
No, they're very.
They're not yet.
Right, right.
Some
We'll
stuff.
see.
It's good someone's having a good time. June 20th, 2022.
Okay, welcome everyone to the June 20th Village Board meeting. If you could join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a motion to open the public hearing for local law number 7, which is repealing local law number 1 of the year 2018, entitled "A Local Law Amending Chapter 98, Schedule B of the Village Code, entitled Zoning and Village Planning, Local Number 4 of 1994, to set maximum building height, permit limited residential occupancy on ground floor in Type 1 urban regulations for shopfront mixed-use buildings in B1 district, and amending Village of Pawling Local Law Number 4 of 1994 Comprehensive Plan, update Section 14 of amendment of the Comprehensive Plan."
Can you repeat that?
I
I'll make a motion.
Okay, and second,
Second.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Dave, you
Yeah,
wanna?
I have just some information about this law. We did hear back from the county informally. Jennifer Picosa reached out and had some, had some questions and a couple of comments. The main comment that she had related to the fact that with the repeal of the local law, the density of multifamily residences in the B1 district would be back to 10 per acre. And, you know, that's something that she thought you might want to think about, in that many of the residences, you know, including ones that are recently being approved, are much, you know, less than that. It wouldn't change the density of the B2 or the R4, which are the other ones that have that limitation. So that is something that would be if you decided to make that change to not have the density limitation apply in the B1, that would be a significant change that would you know, we wouldn't be passing it tonight. And then the other thing is, we have a couple of applications now that have been pending for some time. The applicants have spent a fair amount of time and effort on getting special permits for residential apartments in the B1. So you may want to consider, you know, not grandfathering applicants that have come in before the time that we introduced the law, if the applications have been filed, so that you would end up grandfathering only those. It wouldn't apply to anybody else who tried to apply. So that would be the other. But then the things that would remain would be the 3.5 story reduction, and eventually subject to that exception, you would eliminate the apartments on the first floor of the in the B1. So if somebody's gonna do that in the future, they would need to get a variance.
So I know I believe that was, it's not her formal,
No, she's gonna.
review yet. It's-
Right, so if you decided to make those changes, we could do that, present that to the county, and I think they'll cooperate to meet whatever time frame if we decided to do it.
And you and I talked about this, and where I would not want this to affect the two projects that we have before us right now.
Right.
Like you said, they've put a lot of time and funds into moving those projects forward, and I don't really want this to have an adverse effect on them.
And those things have been carefully considered by, all the criteria and so yeah.
Would you please, I'm missing the part about the 10. She was recommending that we not make that.
In other words, she doesn't think, she thinks that in the B1, having some density is not
so bad.
necessarily a bad thing. I
Oh,
mean, obviously,
so-
that's something that needs to, it could be in certain cases, but to limit it to 10 per acre, that is, if you compare like the Dutcher House, I would
Right.
imagine that's probably, 100 per acre. And I'm not saying that, but you'd want to
Okay.
have the discretion not to apply, the density would then, in the B1 would be really limited to, size and space and all the
Okay.
other criteria that.
So then we would not approve this tonight?
Correct.
Okay.
And we don't have her formal
Right, we need that
response
anyway.
from review, so the reason that we opened the public hearing tonight is because at our previous meeting, we said we were setting the public hearing for tonight, so therefore we are holding the public hearing tonight. But my view is that at this point, we keep the public hearing open
Right.
pending
Yeah,
any
and then-
changes and pending her full review of it.
And since these changes may be deemed significant, I think we ought to re-notice, have a new notice of the public hearing with, you might, actually, since we're gonna re-notice it anyway,
should
we may
we
just wanna
close it
close it,
Yeah.
and just not act on this, and then
Okay.
we'll start the process with a new notice,
Okay.
a new referral, and I could get that, I could get that out in the next couple of days to the county, if you decided that you wanted to authorize me to make those revisions and send that to the county. Pretty simple thing.
So
Should
Make a
we need a
motion.
Should we
Yeah,
take a
just a
motion
motion to
on
have,
that?
to authorize me to,
Make the necessary
make those
changes.
amendments and send them to
So
the
do you wanna
county
make the
and.
motion?
I make a motion that we
Just, should we
authorize.
close public hearing first?
Oh, I thought, yes, thank you.
Or even prior to closing the public hearing, should we
So,
see if
you
anyone
want
wants
me
to
to
speak?
make-
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
idea, yeah, great idea.
We could, what?
You want me to make that motion?
Yeah, once we close it, but, Jeanette, do you have any questions or comments? Okay. All right, so do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make the
I'm,
motion.
okay, I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
So I make a motion.
Well, wait a minute, let's go into new business. We don't have that as an agenda item, so yeah, let's.
We'll go back and
Well,
we're
we're
close the
in,
public,
we
okay.
close the public hearing.
Okay, so I make a motion that we authorize Dave Daniels to make the necessary adjustments in these local laws and present them to the county.
As we had discussed, as I
As we
discussed
discussed,
based on my
yes.
recommendations.
And I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Dan, so we have to do the shuffle.
Yes, please, and I'll
Try to blind you on your way.
Moving.
We're all.
I think we can just slide our chairs.
I need to stand here,
Sorry.
otherwise I'll block the screen.
I'm going out there.
All right, all right.
Run over and see this.
Popcorn is. This is gonna take just a minute to warm up.
Do you want the lights on, Dan?
I think that's a great idea.
You're president.
Oh, you get to just be cozy over here.
Hey, popcorn over there?
Popcorn, little beverage, soda.
Thank you all. Tonight, I've come to you with a presentation about potentially changing the water rates within the village. And my presentation is pretty basic. Some of you may already understand and know this, but I'm sure the public could benefit from some of this knowledge. To me, this is just the first discussion. There'll be additional discussions between now and whenever you choose to modify the water rates. And I expect towards the end of this, I'll show you a schedule that I'm proposing for your consideration that you may adopt. So we're going to talk about the concepts of water rates, how revenue and expenses are handled within the village. I'll show you some budget numbers that are not precise in the sense that I've taken to the letter the numbers off the budgeting that you've done, but they're illustrative of what the components of a water rate are. We're going to introduce the concept of an equivalent dwelling unit benefit for the water rates, and let you think about that and perhaps adopt it. And then I'll provide a schedule that I think can be achieved and should be achieved as we go forward. I titled this one Water Supply Financing 101. It's important in the concept of municipal government, especially in New York State, that those who benefit from a public utility are the ones that need to pay the finances for that utility. And the village, even though it has general powers and duties for roads and solid waste and building systems and lots of other things, it keeps a separate water fund. So money that comes in from water rates is handled separately from all other monies in the village. And it stays separate so that the people who are paying those rates receive the benefit of the money that they're paying in the form of rates. That is a fundamental in New York State, that those who benefit have to pay and nobody else can benefit. To do this, the board adopts certain things annually and some periodically. For example, with respect to budgeting, every spring you go through a budgeting process to ascertain how much you project it will cost to operate the water system for the next year. You present that to the public, you talk to the people about it, you take comments on it, and ultimately you adopt a budget. Similarly, the village board has the authority and responsibility to set rates that are consistent with its budgeting. And the last bullet on this slide shows that if you miss budget in the sense that you've collected too much money from the people in 1 year, that money doesn't just go to the general fund, it goes to a water fund to be used in the future for water purposes. The flip side is, if you have a shortfall during your budget period because you didn't recognize that electricity rates might double in January, for example, you would take money from the water fund and put it back into the budget year. So it's like a savings account, but it's dedicated to the for water purposes. This is an illustration of the budgets. 21 and 22 are close to what it was budgeted. 23 and 24 are just projections going forward. You can see that it costs you roughly $250,000 a year to keep the water supply going. But you can also see that the numbers increase with time. There's a couple of reasons for this O&M increase, most of which is general inflation. Some has to do with additional users, pumping additional water, electric rates increasing, and the like. So we're projecting, and this represents about a 5% increase year over year for the next few years, indicating if nothing else happened, you would have to generate more money for operations. In addition, you see the next line down, that's a capital expense, $40K, $40K, and then $125,000. The $40,000 represents paying back money that you've already borrowed for Charles Street. And the increase to $125,000 represents what we think will be the payback for the money that you will borrow through EFC for financing UMCHI, and the money that you will either borrow on your own or through EFC for Lower Baxter. So the important thing here is, and we talked about that fund balance, in every case, these budgets show a decrease in fund balance with a significant change in 23 and 24 and beyond. And it is for this reason, inflationary purposes and having enough capital to pay, that we're having the discussion with you now about potentially changing the rates. When we think of water supply rates, we think of two different pots of money. One pot of money is called operation and maintenance. It's the everyday stuff that keeps the water supply going. Labor, chemicals, electricity, consumables. Year after year, you're not going to have something in the bank when you're done. You're going to spend the O&M money each year just to keep things going. There's another way to think about municipal water funding, and that is a capital repayment program. So just like many families take out a mortgage to buy a house because they don't have the cash in their pocket to buy the house in year one, but they're healthy and they work hard and they have an obligation, if they can work hard, to make money to pay off a mortgage. Municipal bonds are very similar to that. The market out there is interested in loaning money to municipalities because it's safe money. You have the power to tax, they know they're going to get repaid. And they would gladly loan money to municipalities with the promise that it will be repaid. You have to pay, just like in your house, whether you're on vacation or living in your house, you have to pay the mortgage. Here, you have to, if you do go to public financing and bonding, you have to pay the bonds. I think it's good to segregate operational expenses from capital expenses, because if you don't sell a drop of water, you still have to pay for the capital expenses. So if you have two different components in a rate system, one for generating capital, not related to flow or time, and another one that pays for operation, I think that is good. The current system that you use is a one-component system. You charge for the gallons that you sell. You do not have a separate accounting or gathering of capital money. Typically, for the O&M, you set a rate that is $1 per 1,000 gallons. You measure the amount of water that people use, and you charge them. You multiply the rate times the gallons that were used, and that becomes a charge for operations. Many municipalities have declining rates with production, so if the big users get a slightly lower rate the more they use, that's, especially here in Pawling, that's probably not a really great way to do this, because it doesn't incentivize conservation. So instead of having a declining rate going forward, we are thinking that you will either have a flat rate for operation or potentially a small increase in the cost of water as higher volumes are used. Incentivize people to conserve. Capital can be generated in any number of ways in New York State. There are capital formulas linked to assessment. There are capital formulas just by assignment. We're going to recommend that you use an equivalent dwelling unit benefit assessment. So at one point, or assignment, at one point in time, for each of your customers, you establish the benefit that they receive, and they would pro rata pay you back for the money you need to pay off the bonds, based on their benefit assessment compared to the sum of all other benefit assessments. And I'll show you that in a formula in a minute. So this is just a comparison of existing rates here and things to think about for future rates. Jeff Smith and I have worked on this. Jeff is your consultant from Municipal Solutions. We can only give you advice, we can make recommendations, we can point you in a direction, but you are the ones that will make the decision. So everything that I'm saying tonight is fluid, based on what you want done and how you want it done as we go forward. But for comparative purposes, right now you have a minimum 8,000 gallon per quarter charge to users. That results in a minimum O&M charge to each user of $77.75. If you look at that on a cost per 1,000 gallon basis, that's almost $9 or right around $9 per 1,000 gallons. Notice if you use 8,001 gallons to 60,000, that cost per unit under the current system goes down to $4.72. So the smallest users are paying the highest rate. Similarly, if you use more than 60,000 gallons in a quarter, up to infinity, the rate goes down to $3.73. What we will analyze and provide you with the results of that analysis of what if we flatten this rate so we can incentivize conservation, what rates might be appropriate here going forward so as not to hurt existing users or future users. And we will come to you over the next month and a half or so with some recommendations. Interestingly enough, the current system is a one-dimensional system. It's only a number per gallons. There is no capital component. So in the past, as you have accrued money through your budgeting process, charged a rate, part of that rate goes to capital, but it's not declared as capital. We're going to recommend that you think very hard about assigning a benefited unit number to each customer, which will be used to collect the capital repayment portion of your obligations. If anybody's got any questions, I'd be happy to take them anytime, but I'll just ramble on otherwise. So this is my last slide. There is some urgency to keep this moving. It's been since before 2019 that rates have been fixed here in the village. The prior board in the fall of 2019 approved I think it was a 2.9% raise that was never implemented because of COVID. So people have had the same rates for a long time. It is time, just because things cost more with time, for you to consider changing the rates now. The other thing that's driving the change in rate is we're near the completion of the Umscheid project. We will go to permanent financing on that project by December of this year, and the village will be obligated to start making bond payments next year. So we have to put you in a position where you can generate the money necessary to pay back those bonds. Those costs were in the table that I showed you earlier. Roughly $125,000 a year for capital repayment is what will be needed. When you go back into the future, tonight's agenda item is to talk about Williamson. I'll just briefly say this is a company that specializes in writing software for municipal systems, solid waste, water, wastewater, and others. Christine Brown has researched Williamson, as has Jeff Smith and me, and we are making a recommendation that the board engage Williamson, and it's a different item tonight, to allow their programmers to make these changes over the summer. The way we see it is we will work hard looking at what we think is the best and most appropriate benefit assignment for each property between now and sometime in July. We will present that to you at your meetings in July. By August, we would have the system tested and know that the program can work. The village, the mechanism that the village uses to adopt new rates is by resolution. And Jonathan, about 3 months ago, provided a recommendation that it's not required, but a recommendation that you hold a hearing on those rates once you establish what you think those rates should be. So our thinking is the staff will do its work and recommendations and provide the board with data in July. And we are thinking at the first meeting in August, you will have the rates in front of you and you will have enough information to schedule a hearing for the second meeting in July. You set a hearing there and hear what the people think about these rates and close that at the second meeting. And if the board is so inclined, actually adopt by resolution the rates at the second meeting in August. That will allow these rates to be used for the September billing cycle and put us in shape of starting to collect the money that you're going to need next year to pay for the water bills. And that concludes my presentation.
So
Thank you.
this format is a widely used format.
Oh, yes.
In all over the place.
Yes.
Not just in New York, but,
Maybe we should roll back so people can see
Yeah,
us asking
I can
questions.
turn this off. if-
Yes.
and the other thing is that we've had challenging issues with the present format.
On the water side, not so much, because there was no capital component. On the water side, it's pretty straightforward. It's a rate per gallon with a minimum. And on the water side, the existing program is pretty straightforward. On the wastewater side, it's more complex.
And do we have a good sense as to where, like, electric rates are gonna be in the future? I mean, this is a wild card right now.
Yeah.
You got chlorine, which is also going up very high in price, and interest.
I'll stay off my box,
Yeah,
but in this inflationary period, I don't think anybody can predict.
yeah, it looks like it'll be very tough.
The fundamental
Yeah.
is a therm is a therm is a therm.
Yeah.
And if energy is gonna cost more, chlorine's gonna cost more. Electrolysis is used to make chlorine.
Yeah,
Everything will cost more. And where it's gonna, in my view, until we have a sane energy policy countrywide,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Look, in January, we had bills that were, for electric at the wastewater plant, typical was $8,000 a month. We got to $18,000 one
Yeah,
month.
I.
2.5
As a
times.
business, I experienced the same
Yeah,
thing.
and
That's
it's-
crazy.
Yeah.
And so,
$7 a gallon for diesel,
Yeah.
truckers, everything's gonna
Oh,
go
yeah,
way up
yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
It's just
Well,
like
I
a
mean,
snowball here.
we engaged someone who's, that's all he does is electricity, and even they don't, there's no
And-
answers.
this is not part of this, but it relates. We have opined in the past as to the cost for Lower Baxter.
Mhm.
If I gave you what I thought was a hard construction cost for Lower Baxter now, I should shoot myself, because I don't know. I don't know what this marketplace is gonna be. I rewrote the engineer's report in preparation of potentially making an application to EFC for financing support for Lower Baxter. And I increased my previous estimate by about 60%, because I don't know. And if we go in and ask for a placeholder with EFC, I want it to be robust enough that we don't get egg on our face later. But at some point on the Lower Baxter site, we'll present you with options of either getting money from EFC and paying the higher freight associated with dealing with EFC versus financing locally, lower cost, but no grants. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's a balance, and it's tough. It's a tough time. I don't know the answer.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, don't get too comfortable though, Nan. You're up for the next one to go over Labella preparing bid documents for Umscheid's Head Works.
Yes, this is informational and requesting permission to allow us to work with Jennifer to go to bid on the headwork part of the Umscheid project and some electrical cleanup, I would call it, at the existing Baxter Green treatment plant. That will be the final contract to complete the Umscheid project. It is conceivable we would be in a position to give Jennifer the ad for bids on the 29th of June, but it may kick a week to the, whatever that is, the 6th, the 4th or 5th, 6th of July. But we'd like your permission to go to advertisement as soon as I finally approve the plans and specs for that purpose.
Does anybody have any questions regarding that?
No,
Anybody want to make a motion
I'll
to?
make a motion that we approve Labella preparing bid documents for the Umscheid Headworks and minor electrical work at Baxter.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, so before us, we also have a resolution in order for us to apply for the Smart Growth Community Planning and Zoning Grant through Consolidated Funding application for $100,000 in order to assist us in the cost for updating our comprehensive plan. Anybody have any questions regarding the resolution? Can I make someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution to support the submission for a smart growth program.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Who's that grant through?
Department of State. It's a $100,000 grant for the comp plan with a $12,000 local
Match.
Local match.
Okay, so we have a request from Dutchess County Real Property Tax Services for a correction to tax bill number 41. Apparently there was an error in this bill and we need to make the correction. So, would anybody like to make a motion to correct that?
I'll make a motion that we make a correction for tax bill number 41.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we have a request for water account number 10401 for a, to receive a waiver. Apparently they had a leak, and they're looking for a waiver on the water bill. Anybody have any questions regarding this? Do we want to make any type of decision or motion? on
Well, I
this?
mean, we have typically, we have never made adjustments on water bills. We have adjusted sometimes a sewer bill where the water that was used did not go into the sewer. I myself was notified that I had a leak this month. You know, I have to pay the bill and I have to pay the sewer bill associated with it. They told me when the leak happened, how much it was, and that's been our policy as long as I've been around, that we do not adjust.
Anybody have any?
So basically, if it goes into the sewer,
You pay for the
Well,
water anyway.
if it doesn't go into the sewer,
into the sewer,
we're
like
gonna
if
adjust
you're
it. If it goes
outside
into the
spigot.
sewer, it's a leak in the house, going into the sewer.
Right, if
Right.
you had a water spigot leaking outside, you still
Still
pay
have
the
to pay
water
the
bill,
water
but
bill.
you don't have to pay
Pay
the
this
sewer
extra
sewer
because
bill.
it didn't go in the sewer.
Right.
Okay, we talked about that, yeah.
So do we need a formal motion on this? I would assume so. Does anybody want to make a motion
I'll make the motion.
that we,
Deny the request.
That we deny the request, yeah, sorry.
all right, and do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Okay. Dan, you're back up. Discussion on the proposal received from Williamson for the water and garbage billing.
Yes, you have in your package, I briefly, in the previous presentation, talked about this, but Christine, Jeff Smith, and I identified Williamson as, we think, the appropriate contractor to rewrite the software for the village for the purpose of water and wastewater. It so happens they also wrote the software for the solid waste collection. Solid waste is billed once a year, water is 4 times a year, wastewater is 4 times a year. You have in front of you a proposal to split the cost with Pawling Joint Sewer Commission for the water wastewater program, which is a combined program. You also have in front of you a proposal to approve the cost for the solid waste portion of the program. The one part of this that we're asking for clarification on, during COVID, you allowed customers to use credit card to pay their bills. There is a separate fee for that from Williamson, should you decide to continue that, of roughly $500 a year for water and wastewater, which would be split, and that would be paid fully by the village for the solid waste. So you need to think about discussing whether you want to do that or don't want to do that. But other than that, if we're going to make that schedule that I put up with respect to getting the billing ready for September, we would need to authorize Williamson tonight to start moving forward, working with us on those revisions.
Okay, so let's start first with, does anybody have any questions regarding the proposal overall?
No, I think it's a long time coming, right? The program
Yeah.
we have is
You're okay.
fairly outdated, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Correct. So then I guess the only other question is, do we continue with the credit card service or not?
But
Yes.
Jennifer, the overall credit card service was $1,200, about 5 something per sewer, and then,
$4.95 for water sewer.
right.
And $4.95 for garbage.
And you can, I mean, it can be incorporated.
But the customer,
So we're talking about
does the
$1,200.
customer pay for the additional charge for the credit, using
The
credit?
customer has to pay an additional fee for the
The
convenience of
Yeah,
using
okay.
a credit card, yes. That's on their own credit card charge.
But do we charge also a fee?
Well, we get,
No,
no,
I don't believe we.
well, no, we get, because we're getting charged for it as well.
We're getting charged for them to use the
Yeah,
card. Now,
exactly.
what I'm saying is some companies put an extra 3% on the bill if you're gonna use the credit card.
It's, I think, I wanna say it's like 8% for the customer to use the credit card payment. Then I believe there's a percentage that we're
We're charging?
We're charged, the village is charged.
So
That we're charged, but we're not charging the customer?
No.
I think we
Well,
should.
we can,
But I think
we
we
can
should.
incorporate it
We
into
can.
it. I think it's a convenience that people, I mean, are a lot of
Absolutely.
people using it?
I know it's used, I don't know how many people are using it.
Okay. I mean, not everybody's, I mean, it's the most
Yeah,
convenient way.
you gotta
So,
pay,
just to be
you gotta pay
clear.
for the convenience.
Yeah.
Yep.
I pay my credit card,
Mhm.
I pay my sewer bill or water bill on the credit card. Am I charged an additional 8%
That-
to use my card?
Yes, that goes to the vendor, not to the village of.
Okay.
You're
goes to the
paying
vendor.
it
You're
on your
paying it.
credit card bill
Yeah.
to the vendor, has nothing to do with the village.
Yeah, but if I, all right, I'm not gonna get into all that
So
tonight.
we're losing 8%?
No.
No.
Oh, okay,
No, we can charge
okay.
to recoup the expense to us to have that, offer that convenience.
Which is the $4.95.
Yes, so we're paying the $4.95 to be able to allow people to use their credit card for paying their bill. We pay
Okay.
$4.95 for the year, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so if we wanted to recoup that, could we charge 2% or 3% for someone using a credit card to
But
recoup some of that?
who's setting the 8%? That's where I'm lost on.
The
That's
company.
the vendor
The
that
ven-
accepts the funds, so who, the
Okay,
company we have
well,
set
okay,
up,
now
who
clear.
accepts
So
the
it's on
funds.
your credit card bill.
So, okay, now
You
I
just
got it.
The village is not charging you.
Right, it's 8% from the vendor that was.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now I'm clear.
Is that-
And you're
is that-
paying it as a customer.
Yes.
Is
Okay.
that,
Yes.
is that
Okay,
vendor?
that's what I'm clear on.
Okay, no, I
using for
wasn't
what?
either, okay.
Yes,
Now I got
it was through Williamson, I don't know why we went with them, but I think Williamson uses that.
I mean, that sounds like a
which is why.
lot to me.
So-
8% is a real lot.
I think it's a lot less.
3%.
The market,
I could be
It's usually 3%.
saying the wrong thing, but I know it was a high.
yeah, I mean, you can get competitive, banks, maybe our bank, I don't know, the bank that the village uses might be able to offer a better,
I think, didn't we look into that?
I
Well-
think for whatever reason, we couldn't go through our bank. I remember there was a reason we were locked into this vendor, but I don't know if that's changed now.
maybe because of the
Could be different.
software.
But you're not forced to use your credit card. This is
No,
your
yeah, no,
convenience, so
right,
you
no.
certainly can come in and pay your bill in person or pay by check.
Right,
So those options still hold.
right, so it's just, it's according to what you want, how convenient you want to be.
Now, does the sewer commission also need to vote on this as well?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So I make a motion that we accept this proposal from Williamson for the water and garbage billing.
But do you want to add that there's the credit card? I don't think that's on here.
It is.
It is on there.
It's on
So
the
we're
second page.
accepting it as a whole then.
Right.
Okay. So we have a motion. Do we have a second for that?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, we have minutes. Everybody have a chance to read the minutes?
Yes.
Okay, so do I have a motion to accept the April 18th minutes and the May 2nd?
And I'll second it.
Any discussions, any questions regarding the minutes? Okay, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the Metro North Treasurer's Report as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor say aye.
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 I just texted Christine about the charge. She said if you pay a $157 bill, you're paying $7 on top of that to the credit card company. I don't know what percentage that is.
7 on 150?
157, an extra $7.
5% maybe.
So maybe more like 5%. I said 8,
Somewhere.
maybe like 5. Just wanted to
That's not horrible. That's about
It's just a-
average, that's about average.
Yeah.
And the backtrack, we can always discuss the credit card portion vendor when we're doing our own proposal, correct? If we feel like fit.
Yes, because this is just for the interface that goes from
Yes,
the Williamson to
to
the
allow.
vendor. Yes.
Right, correct. Okay. Dan, you're back up for engineer's report?
Thank you. Hello again, I'm Dan Stone. As opposed to Dan B. I left my phone off almost. So there's a water leak on East Main Street near Route 22, which is a problem because it's a water leak, but it's also a challenge because it's near Route 22. Some portions of the board and I have had discussions about how to handle traffic during the repair of this leak and when to do the repair. I believe it is now scheduled for Wednesday morning, pending weather, because it may be a rainy day. But as soon as we fix that, we would like to provide a notice or work with Jennifer to do a notice that could go up on the website to let people know that there will be limited traffic service with a flagman at East Main Street. We will allow a northbound left-hand turn in or a southbound right-hand turn into East Main Street, but it will only be inflow into East Main Street. Anyone moving south along East Main Street to the point of South Street will be forced to take a right as a detour. Anyone coming east on South Street will be forced to take a left onto East Main Street as a detour. We've sketched out a little plan for the highway crew and the water crew to properly cone, and have a flagman there for safety purposes.
We also need to notify landowners that will be affected by any water being turned off.
To my knowledge, there are only 4,
Right,
but
but we
Yeah.
wanna
yes.
have the opportunity to notify them.
Is traffic gonna come all the way to South Street, or are we gonna detour them at Sunset?
I believe the village only needs to worry about the safety at the immediate intersection, South Street and East Main Street, and get traffic that comes to that intersection through it safely. Once we divert them to East Main Street going northward, they'll make their choice where they go. Southward traffic on East Main Street will be forced to turn right on South Street. They'll be forced to take a right. Does that?
And once they're on South Street, I prefer that they just continue all the
Yeah.
way to
Right.
Dutcher rather
Right.
than.
And the
Right.
fire
Going up
department won't
Sunset
have
or
any
through the
issues, or?
neighborhoods.
We have not talked to the fire department about this, but we will give Everett a call.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I know it's difficult to estimate, but length of time you think they're gonna be there?
This estimate's,
Ask,
If
yeah.
everything goes perfectly, it'll be.
Everything a hole, just keep going?
but this estimate's better than the electric estimate I was requested to give, less than a day.
Less than a day. I'm gonna hold you to it.
I'll take my shovel out there if it's more than that.
What you find is what you find.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see, we have a meeting tomorrow with EFC about permanent financing for the Olmsted site. That's at 10 o'clock. We hope to get our list of what we have to do to be able to go to closing. 2 of the things that we need are the bids back for the project that is on the street now being and I think those are due early July, and the project that you authorized going to bid tonight. Those numbers will lock in the construction costs, at which point we will be able to project with a high degree of certainty the final project cost for EFC. And I hope to have those numbers in hand because the bids will be awarded by August. And that will give EFC sufficient time to finalize the numbers for closing. I'm going to blow this, but I'm meeting Mr. Kolk.
Kolk, very good.
I didn't blow it.
No.
Tomorrow morning to talk about 2 things. One is the water service leak that we have under the slab here at Village Hall. And the other thing is how to handle and fix sewers over at the Chamber of Commerce building.
Oh, good.
I will also be meeting Diana Tomasetti because a solution at the Chamber building will include using part of Hudson Valley Plastics property to convey waste from the Chamber building to the existing village sewer that crosses the Hudson Valley Plastics property. So I will be I haven't scheduled that meeting yet, but I will be meeting with her this week. Flushing continues. I don't know whether a particular day this week has been scheduled, but you will be notified in the whatever day it's going to be when Everett, Corey, and our
Flushing or flow tests?
flow tests. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you.
Flow,
I'm like,
flow tests. Thank you.
What's left, just like Coulter and
I
Spring Street?
So we will not do anything less than a 6-inch main. So I don't know, I haven't in my head put a map together of what's been completed. I think we went all the way out
Yeah.
West Main Street, so it's gotta be.
East Main too, all the way,
Did we get East Main done?
Yes.
With fire flow?
yes.
Okay, then you're,
When we.
so then it'd just be,
Well, that's probably what may have contributed, but,
No, the hydrant problem in front of top of the cones.
yeah.
Yeah.
so it's probably just this area then. You know, the Charles Street has that new 8-inch water main, which would make fire water, but it's probably right in this immediate area.
So you're not doing anything less than 6 inch, you said?
It's not worth it. You
I just wanted
can't.
to point out there was 2 hydrants at the middle school and high school that, I don't know if anybody's ever flushed those.
It's not
But they're
flush,
probably
it's just a float.
2 inch or 4 inch.
No, those should be good. At the high school?
High school got
Yeah.
a 16-inch
Yeah.
main.
They should,
I was
yeah.
wondering, yeah.
Yeah, we got a real main there.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
Coulter, I think,
Are they on the schedule, they've been done?
I do not know. I will check.
I was
Coulter
wondering,
is-
see them.
We might wanna suggest that we hold off on that flow test.
Because of the leak.
No,
No?
because school is still in session and it may affect the school over and where you're looking at, and we may wanna just hold off until, school's out at the end of this week.
Yeah,
Okay.
Friday's the last day.
So
No
if we just
problem.
push it till
I
next
will.
week,
And with the leak repair too, it makes sense.
so
Push,
we're
okay.
gonna be busy.
Yep. We're scheduled to meet Dutchess County on July 12th to go over our design at a 30% level to get their feedback for Lower Baxter. And that's all I have.
You have one more item?
Do I?
Yeah.
What'd I forget?
The household income survey you were gonna discuss?
Oh, yeah, this is a heads up. Thank you. I missed that on my notes. If the village decides to use EFC for financing, it will be advantageous for the village to do an income survey, because currently the number that are carried in the federal and state documents, the income in Pawling is slightly above, and literally only a few $1,000s per year above the minimum that would qualify you for lower interest and hardship. So if we did this before on the wastewater, and that income survey, when it was done, showed that the actual income of the users was $5,000 or $6,000 less than the threshold. But time has gone on. That survey is more than 5 years old. We would need to redo it with the hopes that it would again prove that the income in the community of users is less than this federal and state number. We have some time to do it, but I think as the summer progresses, we would come to you with a recommendation in your second July meeting to move forward with that, to give the vendor enough time to get it done so it could play into potentially getting zero interest for the Lower Baxter loan, potentially getting a grant of up to 50% of the cost of Lower Baxter. But unless it looks like that money would be available, it probably doesn't make sense spending the money on the income survey. So we need it's a heads up, but we need another 4 or 5 weeks to tell you whether we're recommending that you do that survey or not.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for you? All right, need a motion for the prepaid bills in the amount of $1,560.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And I need a motion to pay the June bills in the amount of $4,613.24.
So moved.
Second. Got it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And I have a motion to close the regular meeting and go into open comment. Public
moved.
comment?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Right before we go in, I just would like to make, well, I think 2 announcements, if I dare. Our new website is, did we get anything? Wednesday? So our new website is supposed to be live Wednesday, finally. The other thing is, I know everybody, some of the discussion tonight was about electric. I know a lot of people have been struggling with their electric bills. So the town of Beekman is having a public forum with NYSEG this coming Monday, the 27th, and has included Pawling and Amenia and Dover, I believe, to also attend and participate in that open forum. I will be attending. It's open to everyone. So I just want to, it's on our website. I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of that, and whoever would like to attend, I'm not sure, I don't remember if there's an RSVP, but it's on the notice that's on our website, so.
What day is it?
Next Monday, the 27th. So, any questions, comments, concerns? Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Okay.
Did I-